everyone. It's now time to get back to space exploration news this week after visiting the Horizon 5th event last week. Lots have happened in the past 2 weeks, and we're going to do our best to keep you up to date on these activities. Welcome to Reaching for the Moon, hosted by me, Ed Grace. NASA recently made a long-anticipated announcement that it plans to keep the International Space Station operational until 2030. For more than 20 years, the ISS has been continuously inhabited in low Earth orbit. A total of 19 countries have sent their astronauts to visit the International Space Station for various lengths of time. Space agencies around the world have used the International Space Station to study how humans can live off the Earth for extended periods of time, as well as completing hundreds of scientific experiments in a gravity-free environment. Many countries and space agencies have worked together to advance conquering the issues related to living in a space environment. Back in the 90s, the United States, NASA, and Russia combined forces with Canada, Japan, and the European Space Agency initially to build the ISS. The success of the ISS in completing science and engineering experiments has carried over to the political interests, and all of these countries have worked together without any diplomatic issues. The International Space Station partners are currently committed by the original agreements to operating the orbiting laboratory until 2024. NASA has long argued that the facility is safe to occupy longer, and now NASA has formally endorsed keeping the station operational until 2030. Interestingly, there was no mention of support by any other country or space agency to keep the ISS operating through 2030 in NASA's press release announcement. I guess NASA's hoping that their endorsement of keeping the ISS operational until 2030 will be endorsed in the future by other partners. The International Space Station is physically constructed into two sections, the Russian section and the NASA section, which are connected to each other. There are two mission controls for the ISS, one located in Moscow and one at Johnson Space Center here in Houston. There has been at least one Russian cosmonaut and one NASA astronaut on board since the ISS became operational. Based upon recent actions by Russia, not signing the Artemis Accords and announcing plans to build a moon base with China, leaves open the question of whether or not Russia will endorse NASA's plan to extend life of the International Space Station. If Russia does not support keeping the International Space Station operational until 2030, will NASA be able to keep the ISS operational by itself without Russian support? Big question, no answer at this time period. NASA's recently released International Space Station Transition Report details the goals for the next decade of space station operations, leading to a smooth transition to commercial services and technical steps and budgets required for the transition. As part of the transition, NASA's contracted with Axiom Space to develop 3 modules for the International Space Station. The first is planned to attach to the International Space Station in 2024. Prior to deorbiting the ISS, Axiom will add a power and propulsion unit to attach to the 3 Axiom ISS modules together, free of the ISS, and create a functioning, standalone, low Earth orbit space station. NASA's also selected Axiom Space for the first private astronaut mission to the International Space Station, which is scheduled for later this year. NASA has chosen Point Nemo in the South Pacific Ocean, an artificial reef made up of deorbited spacecraft, as the ISS's final resting place following its controlled fall from space now planned for 2031. The ISS will then lay about 300 spacecraft, including Russia's Mir space station and China's Tiangong-1 space station, which have previously been deorbited there. An interesting fact, the closest people to Point Nemo are the astronauts orbiting in the ISS at the current time. The risk, if the space station fell to Earth on its own and wasn't controlled, is very significant. At about 400 tons, the space station is by far the heaviest human-made object ever to circle Earth. At that size, the atmosphere would not be able to fully burn it up during re-entry, and the ISS would likely cause damage to any site that it landed. Well, that ends today's video, which I hope you enjoyed. Commercial activity in low Earth orbiting space stations will continue to increase in the near future. Reaching for the Moon will continue to report on activity. Hit the like button as well as the subscribe and notification buttons to receive an email every time Reaching for the Moon posts a new video. Thank you for watching, and remember always, failure is not an option. Bye.